All right, Kotaku, I'm here with Steve Swink, independent game designer who's showing his game off at E3 this week. The name of the game is Scale, and it's all about making things bigger and smaller. Let's take a look.
So this is the experimental puzzle platformer that is interested in pursuing what comes out of the ability to scale pretty much all objects in a world, in a 3D world, up and down arbitrarily as much as you want. There is a limitation. There's only a certain amount of scale juice contained in all the objects in the world, and so you can scale, the objects down a certain amount and up quite a bit, but you have to have enough mass to do it. So that provides at least some constraint for the puzzles. And this doesn't quite work yet, but I think also a really good constraint that will happen in the final game is that when you scale objects up, they kind of, if they get splinched between things, they will not continue to scale. They'll prevent you from scaling. So then you can. I can build puzzles that require.
So what's the overarching goal here, Steve?
So the overarching goal is to explore what's cool and interesting about this mechanic, and also to sort of explore the theme of scale and the way that we perceive it. So for example, this chair that I'm sitting on is a boring chair because it's just a regular sized chair. But if there was a chair behind me that was 20 feet tall, you'd call it art.
Yes.
Right. Or if I had a tiny little chair right here that fit into a dollhouse, that's an interesting thing that people want to play with. So there's some ideal size of things that exist in people's minds, and I can play with that concept because I'm allowing you to alter the scale of things in unpredictable ways. So I can have a dime that becomes as large as a house, or I can have a tiny little house, and I can scale it up, and then I can walk inside it, and eventually there'll be things in here also. But I can use that for sort of puzzle solving and interesting stuff.
So each level is puzzle-like in its nature?
Yeah, right now it is. So I'm just, getting these little beach ball MacGuffins for right now that'll probably become something else. So I can see a structure where you find a snow globe, and if you get enough scale juice, you can scale it up, and there's a hole in the snow globe, and it lets, there's like a mountain path, and it's a whole other level nested inside.
Right, so you're creating your own world by virtue of how big or small you make something.
Right, and you can do a lot of neat sort of nested recursion kinds of things. So for example, when I finish this house puzzle, there'll be a dollhouse up in the bedroom, and you can take the dollhouse out of the house and put it outside and then scale up the dollhouse. And I was thinking that the end of the puzzle would be you take this house, pick it up, carry it inside the dollhouse house, and put it where the dollhouse was, and that's the resolve of the puzzle. So I just have some sort of basic mechanics that I can play around with. This is more sort of learning, right? Like it needs enough mass to do the thing.
So it's proportionally changing the weight as the size changes as well. Okay.
Yeah, yes it is, and you can do things like this where you need to sort of get enough juice to do it. But you do that, and then it opens up cages, and you can sort of knock things down. You do little bits like that, and then my goal is to make it really clear everything in the world that's scalable. So these little butterfly guys, you can, make them quite large.
Yeah.
So you can use them as moving platforms. So you get sort of a first-person butterfly thing, and I gotta get this stuff out of the way or it knocks me off.
It's also not cute anymore.
It's pretty terrifying, yeah. I was also thinking that it would be fun to make like spiders, and there's a part of a level where you have to scale a spider up really large, and that would be not so great for arachnophobes, but hilarious for me, so therefore it would be a good puzzle. So, I mean, it's really very early, and I still need to better solve the technical problems of what happens when things get really large and they start to get unwieldy. But I think there's a lot of sort of promising things starting here. So you can see what needs to happen, I think.
So the momentum's not a constant either. The smaller it is.
Yes. So, momentum is factored by mass. So if something is very large, it reduces its momentum. Or if it's sort of flying, or the converse. So if it's rolling and it has a certain amount of momentum, you make that really large, then all of a sudden the amount that it rolls is much larger. And I got sort of cannonballs, and I'm going to do some enemies and little Goomba guys and stuff like that, and maybe you can stomp them, but only if they're small enough relative to you, and then like their little tongues loll out, blah, and then you can go inside them, and there's like a whole level inside the little Goomba guys, and then things like that.
So in the world of scale, you, the player, are the only thing with a constant size.
Exactly, and I'm going to explore worlds where that's not the case. You know, they put a mirror in there, and then you can scale yourself up and down relative to the world. Although I think that's actually surprisingly less interesting than having you as a constant scale. So I probably will get to that one later, and I may never get around to it.
This is pretty trippy.
Thanks, man. So the last thing I'll show you is, so this level feels crappy right now because I just put it together yesterday. But basically the idea is that in this world of scale, you can't scale one thing. Everything scales when you scale one thing. So here we have sort of a placeholder art for the Grand Canyon or something like that. And then you can scale the whole world down and then just hop over.
Wow.
Right, and so what you're doing is you're actually warping space as well as physical objects, or you're sort of warping time in a weird way because, you know, it would take me forever to walk across this whole desert, but I can just do that, and now,
right,
and if I want to get up on top of this mountain, I'm gonna glitch it out, but you know, if you want to get up on top of the mountain, you can sort of just, and there I am, and so I have a puzzle in here right now that's slightly broken because I was messing around with it and I shouldn't have been, but you know, you hit a switch and then you see a thing open up on top of the mountain and you have to scale the whole world down and run over there and jump and then get up on top of the mountain and then, you know, the thing is open.
So it's a skill-based timing puzzle.
Yeah, it becomes a timing puzzle, but the message that I'm telling you is, hey, you're warping time as well as space when you can scale the entire world.
So that's a look at Scale, a slightly trippy, very kind of inventive platform puzzle game from Steve Swink. Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much.